recording. All right, so we're joined by my guy, LSU classmate, one of the coolest people I've ever met, Aaron Johnson, there in Dallas, Texas, graduate of Grambling State University, Louisiana State University, owner and operator of the Aaron Johnson Fitness Club, just involved in so many cool things, published author, doing a lot of stuff. So I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. It's our college career readiness class. There it is. I will show it in a second. Recording this for our friends at Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us again, man. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Greg, for having me. And as you know, as always, I'm here whenever you need me. So feel free to call me. I'm all about career planning. I'm all about helping and inspiring our youth. So that's what I came to do today. And again, thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Now, before we get into what all it is you're doing out there in Texas, HBCU grad, Grambling State University, played college football. You're from Ruston. Played college football right down the road at Grambling for the great Doug Williams, and then we met at LSU where our paths crossed. So, talk a little about your college experience, because you did the HBCU undergrad, the PWI grad school, and they were two great universities. So, talk a little bit about that and being a college athlete, because we have some athletes with us. Being a college athlete is not what you see on TV, and I always hear the easiest part of being a college athlete is the game. The schedule and the time management is really, really not for the weak.
Right. And so I have a unique experience, as you mentioned, going to play football at an HBCU, and then having the opportunity to go to graduate school at a white institution, or what we call it, WASP institution, or what do we call it? I forget what we call it.
The PWI, predominantly white institution.
Oh, LSU, predominantly white institution. Yeah. So, and not many, and being able to be on both sides of the sideline, I was able to see what it's like to be a Division I athlete. The time that you have to put into it, the focus, the concentration, the discipline, the hard work. The putting in the work when nobody's watching, being internally motivated. I had that part of it. And then I received the rewards of being internally motivated, being disciplined, being focused. And that was to get an athletic scholarship to Grambling. And so at the time, there was not, I'm from Shreveport, so Grambling was an hour away. My mom went to Grambling, my father went to Grambling. So it was really a dream come true to go to Grambling and play football. And I don't know if you know, but historically, Grambling has put more guys in the NFL than any other school, any other university. And so that's historical in itself. And then playing for Doug Williams, who was the first Super Bowl MVP. Doug Williams played for Eddie Robinson, who was one of the most winning football coaches in the NCAA history. And so at the time, maybe I knew, but didn't understand the implications of being around that type of atmosphere. But definitely 20 years later, I see that being surrounded around champions, being surrounded around champion-minded people, being surrounded around people that are winners is really something that's understated. And so that's the opportunity that was presented at Grambling. I took full advantage of it. My grades were okay coming in. I think I had a 3.0. I had maybe an 18 on the ACT. And so, I wasn't the most studious athlete, but I understood what I had to do. I understood the scores that I needed to get in order to get a scholarship. So I think so many, and right now the athletes or the schools are presuming to waive the ACT. This is what they're telling the athletes. But like I know, Greg, that an athlete with a poor ACT and an athlete with a great ACT score, but mediocre athletic talent is going to outweigh a athlete that has a low score with superior athletic ability. And so that's my job. So once I went to LSU, because again, at Grambling, you think that You're around this atmosphere, you thinking there's no place better, you thinking there's no place bigger. But then as soon as you step outside those lines and you go to an LSU, you see bigger facilities, more money, more investors, more sponsors, more sponsorship opportunities. And you see that there's a different game being played, there's a different world. And like I said, I had the opportunity to see both. I loved Grambling. I loved my experience at Grambling, but Grambling prepared me to go to an LSU. And then LSU prepared me to be a business owner and to write books and to elevate not only myself, my family, but also my community. And so that's what I've been doing the last 13 years, understanding as an entrepreneur, as a Black business owner, that a large portion of my impact needs to be within the Black community, not only in servicing the Black community, but hiring and giving employment opportunities to the Black community. So that's what I've been focusing on. It's been a tough journey. I wrote the book in 2017, started promoting it in 2020 with the pandemic, and that's been a completely different journey. So I think, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I want to talk about the book because I think it's such a great message. Because your book is called "Don't Be a Dumb Jock," and I know it's and you talk about the importance of sports because we obviously want young kids to get involved in sports not only for their physical health, but to have a diverse high school experience, and then possibly to be like you and be somewhat of a scholarship athlete. But the thought that that's all you're ever going to do is just one of the worst mindsets these young people can ever fall into. But what you talk about is becoming you can become a great athlete, but that makes you a great person, a great leader, a great business person, and can lead to a great career. So talk a little bit about that because that's really your message in the book and what you stand for every day.
So yeah, so like I said, coming from Shreveport, I had an 18 on the ACT. I thought that was great, right? But then when I went to LSU, I saw that the athletes there had 21s, 22s, 24s on the ACT. And it was a wake-up call, because what you don't realize is that a lot of times people are pandering to who you are at the time. So I just was on the phone. I was on a 2-hour phone call conversation last night about my book with one of my former teammates. And he had told me about his all-state honors, his MVP honors, all-state. But he got like a 15 on the ACT. And he was like, oh man, we're so caught up in this idea that we're going to the NFL and we're going to be able to do these things. But the reality is that, less than 1,000% end up going to professional sports. So less than 1/1000th of a percent. Wow. So the chances that you go into the NFL are you have a better time getting struck by lightning. But in all of the situation, your ego is caught up. Yep. People are screaming your name. They're giving all these accolades. Your coaches are trying to keep their job. So they go, you're the best. You're the greatest. And you're really no more better than 1,000 other people at other schools all over the country that have better ACT. They have better academic standards. They have better families. They have more connections, networks, that you have no idea that this is what's going on. And so we went back and forth for 2 hours, and I was just trying to assure him that everything worked out for the best reasons. And what we were supposed to do was take advantage of the academic opportunities that were presented at the time that we went to school. And so, yeah, so 20 years later, I could say that. 20 years later, I could look back and go, I'm happy I made an 18. I'm happy I was able to qualify to go to a school, because what these athletes don't understand is that you have to have a certain score to get enrolled into the school. You have to have a certain academic standard. LSU is not going to take you with an 18 on the ACT. They're not. You have to have a 21, 22 to get enrolled in the school. So again, when we stop playing tricks with the kids, when we stop playing tricks with their minds, their bodies, then so you have to blame the adults for some of that, and then you have to give it to the students, the student athletes, to take control of their own futures and look at the long-term ramifications of not going to class, not reading, not writing well, not doing math well, and it's going to make it hard. It's going to make it hard. I mean, I was just at another career school a couple of days ago, and I asked a question: how many of you like to write? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you like to read. Raise your hand if you like to write. And I had, out of 150, 200 students, I had maybe a total of 50 that raised their hand to the three questions in total. And so what I wanted to tell them is that if you don't like to read, you don't like to write, you don't like to do your math, your customer service sucks, don't be an entrepreneur. Don't go into business for yourself. Don't try and do something. Don't do that, because you're going to fail miserably, because you don't want to write proposals. You don't want to write you don't want to read the contracts. You don't want to present your product or service best light possible because you don't feel like it today. That's just not an option. So if those are some of the ramifications, those are some of the parameters that you're working in, then okay, let's find a career. But even in a career, you still have to take tests. You still have to write. You still have to read. You still have to get certifications. You still have to, so a lot of these kids don't really realize that they're almost set up for failure. And what is failure going to look like? That it's going to look different to everybody. I wake up every day doing what I want to do, how I want to do it. I've written a book. I can sell my book. I can go drive around the country. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not, I don't have a multi-million dollar company, but I've defined my success. I've defined what makes me happy. I've defined what I can do within my own power to make a living for myself. I don't have any kids, so I'm holding off on that, just taking my time. So
yeah, and you make a great point there.
I
We have
think
another guest. We have another guest in the class sometimes that played in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills and played in Canada for 8 years at Hamilton and Winnipeg. And he said, "Look, I played 9 years of professional football, but I wasn't just rolling in cash." And now he's a captain in Ridgeland Fire Department. He said, "Look, you can use sports backgrounds to become a successful professional." He said, I had a lot of experience playing on a team. I get to lead a team now every day in public safety. But and it's kind of like what you do in the schools there in Dallas. You teach kids, how to stay fit and how to, and basic sports skills and how to stay in shape. That that can lead to a decent sports career. But at the end of the day, those sports skills is what translates into being having a successful career, having being a successful college student. And the pipe dream of if I can't play pro ball, I can't do anything is just such an epidemic that so many communities have fallen into.
Yeah, so just as you mentioned, so the phone call with my friend, ultimately it ended up with us determining whether him cheating on the ACT to get in college, whether he had the right grade point average, or whether they gave him a grade point average because he was an athlete. And then how does that translate 20 years later? That's my question to him. How do you feel about all those things that happened leading up to 20 years later? And so we both came to the agreement that, non-athletic people in the world, or what we were saying champions. We were champions at Grambling. We won Black national championships. We won SWAC championships. And so there was a certain effort and energy that went into being a champion. And then you get into the real world, and most people have never experienced championship behavior. They never experienced winning a championship. So the dedication, the teamwork, the narrow-mindedness that you had to have to get that championship, I said, we asked him, Do you use that in your everyday life? And so he's like, what do you mean? And so I gave him the example. I said, just with self-confidence, okay? If you have two athletes, you got a wide receiver and you have a cornerback. The wide receiver believes in himself, believes in his coaches, believes in his talent. The DB, the defensive back, kind of believes in himself, but today is not a good day. You know, he's not feeling himself. Who's going to win? And the guy said, the person with the confidence. I said, how many times is he going to win? Out of 10 times, how many times is he going to win? He was like, going to win 10 times out of 10. I said, exactly. Now take that same thought process into the real world. And if you have one person that applied for the job and they have confidence, and then you got one person in the same that's applying for the same job, and their confidence is not not as high, which one is going to get the job? And so when we break those things down, whether it's discipline, whether it's focus, whether it's concentration, whether it's teamwork, whether it's your ability to overcome obstacles, again, these are things that I had to translate into the business world. Overcoming obstacles is a daily habit of an entrepreneur. You're going to have something. Somebody just called me today. They bought a training package for me for $600 to $60 for a month. Okay. She worked out one session, complained, or she didn't show up for the next 2 sessions. Calls me this morning, texts me, say, I want my money back. I'm like, what?
Nope.
Okay. But every day is something like this. That's a small example. You know, I'm just saying every day there's going to be an example. Every day there's going to be an obstacle to overcome. Every day there's going to be a defense against your offense. Every day there's going to be a special teams. Even after you get past the defense and you score a touchdown, there's a special team that's trying to stop you in real life.
And there was a flag on the play.
And there was a flag on the play. So the referee threw the flag because the referee was on their team too. And you got to overcome all of that. So we had fun with the conversation, and that's what my book is about. It's about translating the things that we've taught you as an athlete since age 8. I started playing when I was age 8, formal competitive sport. So from age 8, I've been learning how to be a teammate, like look out for your team. That's like my natural thing. I'm naturally looking out for people around me. And then in the real world, they go, you're a sucker. So we're going to take advantage of you because we know that you're going to do the work and you're going to look out for us. And so you have to learn how to navigate those different things. But I think being an athlete and being an athlete seriously, going to class, talking to the teachers, sitting in front of the class, participating in class, it translates into the field, looking at film, watching film, studying the offense, the defense, your opponent. It translates into the game. And so when we're able to connect those different thought processes, I think we can make some change in the world, in our families, and in the environments around us.
Yeah, and I do want to I want to talk about a couple more things before I get to these questions real quick. Is, you mentioned something, and me and Miss Kelly were just talking about this, about, kids being, they aren't confident, but they just expect things to happen for them. If you go in and apply for a job, you've got to be able to be confident and interview and sell yourself, because it doesn't matter how great people may have told you are. If you can't show other people that, you're going to find yourself locked out of a lot of opportunities that could present themselves for you.
Right. So now check this out, because a lot of people, they go, oh, I don't need that education, right? And me and you, we were in the master's class together. We were in a master's degree class together, okay? And part of the curriculum was public administration, okay? And I'm like, why am I taking a public administration class as a kinesiologist major, okay? But what I didn't understand was the connection between government policy and health and fitness and wellness and sports, okay? So years later, when I'm presenting myself in front of city government, city councils, school boards. It's clicking like, okay, that's why they have you read government contracts. But my point is that right now we're looking at a bunch of students, especially Black students, that are failing to have soft skills. This is what they call them, soft skills. The ability to shake my hand, look me in my eye, and say, my name is Aaron Johnson. We talking about elementary school, middle school, high school. I'm working with a bunch of high schools now. Having the Black young boys look another man in the eye, shake his hand, and introduce himself is one of the first signs of not having confidence. It's one of the first signs they're going to get you eliminated from the process.
There you go.
You didn't look him in his eye. You didn't shake his hand. You didn't know. You're not secure in the man that you are. You're not confident in the man that you are. That's a direct sign. So when I go into a school, I just went into another school last week, fifth graders. I'm shaking the fifth graders' hands, the young boys, young Black boys, young Black girls, and they look with their head down. They looking off to the side when they talk to you. And I had to stop them and go, look me in my eye. Shake my hand, squeeze my hand, introduce, what's your name? My name is Aaron Johnson. What's your name? And so just that. And so this is kinesiology. This is body language. This is the reading body movement. That's what kinesiology is, the study of the body and movement. So if I can go up to you and go, oh, he's not confident in himself, and this other person is more confident in themselves, something other person, chance I'm gonna get the other person the contract. And so that's a small example of what we're talking about, but then you can extrapolate that over the reading, over the writing, over the math, over the public speaking, your ability to speak from class. These are all micro muscle movements that count in regards to the larger picture of things.
Yeah, and that's I always say, you don't have to be a public speaker. Me and you are perfectly confident in speaking in front of large groups. That's just, unfortunately, I've never really had that fear. But a lot of people do, and I get it. But you don't have to speak in front of a big auditorium, but you got to be able to sell yourself face to face to somebody to take you seriously.
Exactly, and that's what business is all about. I had an interview yesterday. Okay, I'm talking out loud. Okay, I had an interview yesterday for a contract with the city of Shreveport. Okay, for 4 months, $125,000 contract. Okay, and by the time I had the interview, by the time there were a few other people to interview, I didn't get the contract. Okay, what I'm telling you is that as an entrepreneur, you still interview, you still presenting yourself, you still proposals, you still doing things that you may seem in high school, that's not important. But again, as you mentioned, you don't have a problem speaking in public. When was the first time you spoke in public? Can you remember?
I've lost count. I mean, I remember the first presentation I ever gave in third grade, but
exactly. Thank you. It was you were elementary school when you got in front of the. Yes, me too. Exactly. And I had to tell my mom this because my mom goes, "Why you always getting on stage and grabbing the mic?" And my mom's kind of not really that supportive of my entrepreneurship thing. And so I had to tell her, "You the one had me speaking in front of in the public at church and Easter in front of in Sunday school and all this. And now I'm 40 years old and grabbing the mic and you have a problem with it. It's your fault." So yeah, man. So we got to start these things early, man. And for the students listening, if I can encourage anything, if you remember anything from this conversation, you have to read better. You have to write better. You have to math better. You have to do math better. It's not going anywhere. It's not. And the more money you make, the more money you want to make, The bigger the numbers are, the more math you have to do. So, and we're talking about employing people, hiring 21, hiring 30 people. I mean, these are things that come with special skills. You just don't do that by cheating classrooms, by cheating on tests, some people make it do it, but overall, I think you got to practice these skills of being a winner and being successful early and often.
Oh yeah. Now, one last thing before I get to the questions here. You're doing some pretty cool stuff out there in Dallas. You got the skate buds. You do a lot of personal training, because even though all the stuff you talked about, you are a big fan of people staying in shape, people exercising, and the skate buds are really something new that's caught on.
Now, brother, I'm gonna share this with you, and I'm sharing this with you on your platform, right? The skate buds was my first product. Okay, it was my first priority. Okay, but again, because I went to graduate school, because I participated in research studies, I learned how to do research. I learned how to perform my own academic research study. Okay. So when I
Yeah, that
created,
was our
I had,
psychology class.
thank you. Yep. Exactly. Thank you. Now, okay. So I have the skate bud, right? The product, but I want to sell it and I want to make it a huge idea because, in my public administration class, they talked about solving problems within society, not just within my own self. So as I was creating this program, as I had this product, I was trying to see how can I test the product to make it, how can I test this product to see if it's safe, to see if it's fun, to see if it's going to actually be something that kids all over the country can do. Okay. So I started a fitness program to go into the schools, to have a conversation, to use their language. This is the language that the schools were using. This is the language that the parks and recreation centers were using. This is the language that the government was using. Michelle Obama, childhood obesity. This goes back that far. Okay. Oh, so skate buds is the solution to these social problems that we learned about in graduate school, sports psychology class. So I've been doing this research for years, and now I'm starting to see what are the real underlying problems. Is it the physical activity? Is it the food? Is it the family? Is it the parents? What is the real problem? That's what we're trying to find out the real problem was. Okay. So over the years, and after say 13 years of research, what we've gotten down to, the bottom line, is believing in self. That's where we need to start. Self-belief. Okay. Because skate buds, when I put it on a kid's shoe, the first thing that they always think is, I can't do this, because they've never done it before. They've seen some people maybe do it, but they really don't believe in themselves. And if you know anything about kinesiology, the mind-body connection, if your mind says that you cannot do it, the body is going to participate at that level. That's how the mind-body works. You can psych yourself out and go, I can do this. And your muscular system, the nervous system, the central nervous system, and muscular system will align to your mind, to your thoughts. Brother, this is after 13 years of research. Okay, I'm sharing this with you, right? I can't, this is not interesting to an Instagram audience, okay? So anyway, so at the end of the day, I've been doing this research for the last 13 years, going into these different municipalities, into these city governments, into these schools to see, why are the kids overweight? Why are the kids obese? And 10 years later, since I started, guess what the biggest problem with our kids now is? Take one guess.
The
suicide.
Food. Oh, wow.
Suicide. Wow. Kids are dying more from suicide right now than ever in the history of humanity.
Oh yeah.
Because we bypass the childhood obesity thing, we say, oh, it's okay, they'll be okay. But what they don't understand is the depression, the anxiety that goes with being out of shape.
Wow.
Bad breathing, bad focus, bad concentration. That all happens in a workout. You build up your focus and concentration through exercise. The chemicals that you put in your body is going to have effect on your emotion. Now, this is like I said, this is a longitudinal study. So I've been studying this ever since we left graduate school. But now we're to the point where that's what the book about. Don't Be a Dumb Jock is about building your self-confidence first. Let's start there, okay? And then once we believe in ourselves, we have, in my book, I give certain exercises to help build self-confidence, like self-talk, like concentration meditation, like surrounding yourself around the right people that speak confidence into you, not that speak insecurity into you.
Absolutely.
Right? So again, I can have this conversation with you, but most people go, oh man, you just a PE teacher. And there's nothing wrong with being a PE teacher, but the study, the concentration in the study that we've been doing goes back since we were in graduate school. We graduated in 2007, 2008, 2006, I think.
2006, man. Remember like it was
yesterday. 2006. Yeah. So now, so now we're just at the point where we want to market this research, but again, the research comes into contrast with a lot of our norms in society. So, right now, if when I got in front of the school board a couple of weeks ago and I started talking about the self-confidence of the kids, they really didn't think that was the problem. And wow. I get it.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't. They was like, we don't need that. The kids, they're supposed to get that from their parents. And they're supposed to get that from their environment. So once we get back to building real confident kids, more confident kids are going to become more confident adults.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, man, that's just an insight to, like I said, to the program. Skatebuzz is the product. The program is excellent program. I designed it. I was an athlete. I designed it with athlete principles, but I also designed it with the sport psychology mindset. So we're building self-confidence. We're building muscular strength. We're building emotional awareness inside of a youth fitness program.
That's awesome. I just got a couple of questions. And these are from the students. These are both juniors. This first one is Noah Thompson. He's one of our football and track athletes here at Velma Jackson. Wants to be a veterinarian, but he asked, "What was your biggest takeaway from playing from an NFL great like Doug Williams?"
Great question. And let me see. There was a lot of things but what stood out the most was when he talked about when we talked about being a Super Bowl champion, okay? And anybody that knows anything about American sports knows that football is the god of sport in America. And so previous to Doug Williams, he was the first Black Super Bowl champion, quarterback, MVP, okay? And before him, there were 21 other quarterbacks, okay? And I'm not sure how many, but before Doug Williams, all of these championship quarterbacks, were put on the Wheaties box. Okay, they were sponsored by Wheaties. Wheaties put them on the box, the box. Okay, the cereal box. Okay, and so what he talked about was not only that. Let's say 2 years before that, he was bagging groceries at a grocery store. He got a phone call to go try out. He tried out. He made the team. The quarterback in front of him gets hurt. He comes in, wins some games, wins the Super Bowl. Okay. And so he talked about his
Oh,
But he talked about, so he talked about having character and how even though these people, the sponsors, the major sponsors did not back him as the Super Bowl winning quarterback, they did not give him another contract after he won the Super Bowl contract. They end up, I think they maybe traded him to another team or something. But he just mentioned that as a black man in America, you have to be strong and you're going to have to overcome even when you are the Super Bowl winning champion quarterback. And you would think that in that position there would be some some things that were given to him, sponsorship deal, new contracts, shoe deals, all kind of things. But he said they weren't, and you have to still maintain your character. You have to maintain your focus. You'll wake up every morning and be a great person. And so I was 5'6", 5'7" on the best day. And so me sitting there at a 5'7" punt return wide receiver, the NFL was not my magnum opus. So, but I enjoyed the experience. And so it stuck with me. Like, I need to focus on my character. I need to focus on other things beside football, because even if I was to win the Super Bowl, they still might treat me like I'm nothing.
wow.
So I think that was the biggest thing that I took from. Somebody else might say something different, but that was what I got.
That's awesome. I've got one more. This is Harmony Williams. She's interested in being in cosmetology. But she asked, what was the hardest part about choosing what college to attend?
I really didn't. So my mom went to Grambling, my dad went to Grambling. I really only knew Grambling. We used to go to all the football games. I used to live in Ruston, so Grambling was my number one choice. And then and a part and so I could go into another, but what I would say is that what would be the thing? What do you want? What is your long-term goal? Which school is going to put you in the best position to do that? Okay. I really didn't have choices. I wanted to go to the school that gave me a scholarship. Grambling was the only school that gave me a scholarship. And I had a couple offers from some smaller schools, but Division I schools, Grambling was the only one that offered me a scholarship. So I didn't have much of a choice. I wanted to play in the Bayou Classic. That was a game I always grew up watching. So to play in that game was like a dream come true. So I would suggest, what is your dream come true? What dream would you want to happen to you in the long run, in the big picture, in the big scheme of things? After I got hurt at Grambling, I was en route to go to graduate school. I was talking to my professor about going to graduate school. So when the opportunity presented itself, it wasn't like a surprise. It was more like, do you really want to go, or you want to stay in Shreveport? After you graduate from Grambling, do you want to go back to Shreveport, or do you want to go to graduate school and see what happens? I didn't know what was going to happen. I was 23. I was 23 when I was in school. I was in graduate school. How old were you?
22.
You was 22. So we were young. I really didn't have much of a I didn't have a big plan. I just knew I didn't want to go back to Shreveport, and I didn't want to go back to my hood. So I've been doing everything in my power for the last 20 years not to come back to Shreveport. The last 2 years I've been in Shreveport, and I see different things than I saw when I was there, but I see a lot of the same things. So what I would just suggest is write your dream out. Envision your dream. What's the dream in your mind? Okay. And then allow those things to make the decisions for you. The schools, I could have went to another school. I could have went to Baylor. I could have walked on to Baylor. They offered me a walk-on scholarship. But after I thought about the Bayou Classic, after I thought about who's going to pay for it, that's kind of how I made my decision.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and it's always just such a pleasure to have you. But before we go, first of all, tell us where we can find all your products and more information about what it is you do. But tell these young people that what is the main thing they can do to keep from being a dumb jock?
The main thing is believing in yourself. Believe in yourself. So much around us, the news media, the songs you're listening to, your family environment, the culture, so much of that has an influence on whether you believe in yourself or not. And so the main thing that you can do, if you believe in yourself, you'll make better decisions. You'll make different decisions. If you don't believe in yourself, and I mean believe in like the young lady says she wants to go to cosmetology school, believe in that. And believe in that no matter how many people tell you that, because everybody gonna tell you can't do it. Everybody nobody's gonna believe in you. No, there's a possibility that nobody else is going to believe in you. If somebody else believes in you, great. But if nobody believes in you, you have to believe in yourself. You have to prepare. Don't walk into some situation expecting people to give you something. They're not giving it to you. They're not giving out success around here. They're just not. You got to make up your own success. What is successful to you in your mind?
Yep.
And follow that.
But tell us where we can find out your products. AaronJohnsonFitnessClub.com.
Yes. So all social media, Aaron Johnson Fitness Club. My website is AaronJohnsonFitnessClub.com. All social media, Skate Buds or Team Skate Buds. So Team Skate Buds is my youth program, or it's my product and my youth program. My 50 and older is more of my education platform for my 50 and olders. And we're just developing, we're doing the research, we're making things happen. Nobody's going to give it to you. You have to go out there and make it happen. That's my thoughts for the day.
Love it, man. Aaron Johnson, all the way from Dallas, Texas, my man. And as always, go Tigers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Anytime you need me, please feel free. And thank you for what you're doing, because what you're doing is what the kids need. They need more mentors. They need more people to see. And this is what our research already told us.
That's awesome. All right. I'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right, man. Thank you.
See ya.